Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. For those of you that are here live, anybody catching the recording, we appreciate you as well. My name is Scott Dwyer. I'm a solution engineer here at Microsoft, and along with Randall Ikema, my colleague with the same title, we are your hosts of Power Platform Healthcare User Group, or Power Hug. This is a community for Power Platform admins, makers, and users to learn from one another and hopefully learn from some Microsoft folks along the way. We've got a Microsoft presenter today. We'll have a Microsoft presenter next month. And then hopefully we'll help everybody start getting ready for the conference this year in Vegas coming up in October. We love to have customers presenting to customers on these. We aim for the fourth Thursday of every month. We have flexibility on that always. So if anybody's ever interested in presenting on one of those topics or any other topic that you think might be useful to the broader community, we would love to have you. You're welcome to reach out to us via LinkedIn, via email, however you see fit. That QR code will take you to our LinkedIn page, as well as the AKMS link just above it. That's just a LinkedIn group we have. It's a forum. Mostly we're promoting the upcoming sessions, and we put the recordings there. But if you ever have a question or are wondering how to get in contact with us, we'd love to have you post there, and we'll make sure we monitor that and get in touch with you. Previous sessions at Power Platform Hug on YouTube, and we will share with you later today a registration link for the next month's session for those of you that would like to come back to see us. I think we have chat and QA, so really whatever your preference is for questions, feel free to post them there if we have questions throughout the day. And I will have Randall promote just a couple of events before we introduce Abhijit today.
All right, thanks, Scott. So we've got a couple events coming up, and actually the first one we have is next month, where we're going to have our Power Hug session, and we're going to bring in Marty Carreras to talk about bringing your own Copilot into model-driven apps in Power Platform. So this should be an exciting event. You can actually access that at aka.ms Power Hug event, and I'll put that in the chat right now. And then also we're going to plan a Power Platform conference Know Before You Go session. If you've attended that conference in past years, you'll kind of recognize this session. We do it every year, Scott and I and others, to help prepare you for attending that event. There are a ton of people, a ton of sessions to go to, a way to navigate Las Vegas as well as the convention center, give you some tips, tricks, and helpful items to help you, one, get your coffee in the morning without having to wait in line, as well as just navigate the application and register for those sessions. So pay attention to that in September. And then also, I think the next one we're actually going to talk about is the Power Platform Conference. Scott, if you want to go to the next slide there. That is out there. It's ready for attending and registering for attendance. You can look at all the different sessions. There's a million of them, but go start planning your event and look at the sessions you want to attend. You're likely going to have many that are at the same time, so you have to start prioritizing which sessions are important to you, and maybe conquer and or divide and conquer amongst your team that attend the event. I do encourage you to, if you do have time to go, and if you can get approval to go, it's so worth the time, not only to see the sessions, but to work with the community, talk with the community, meet others in healthcare and life sciences, as well as other industries that are using Power Platform at scale, and then learn from them and see how you can apply it inside your organization. And with that, I think that's all we have. We're going to hand it off to Abhijit to talk about transforming your Nurse Huddle board and learn how to embed Copilot. Actually, this is the wrong one. Transform your Nurse Huddle board using vibe coding and other capabilities of Power Platform. So Abhijit, I'm going to hand it off to you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Randall. To introduce myself, my name is Abhijit Premkumar, and I am Randall and Scott's peer in the health and life sciences vertical. I am going to turn off my camera. I want to save some bandwidth and just start sharing my screen. Oops. That's not good. There we go. Can everyone see my screen?
We can.
Yep.
Oh, outstanding. All right, so we're going to talk about Huddle boards today. And why are we talking about Huddle boards? We had a conversation with one of our provider customers on the East Coast a couple of months ago, And they came to us and they said, look, we have huddles, nurse huddles that we run, and they have these occurring for 30 to 45 minutes every shift change. And they surface operational barriers which are getting in the way of patient care. And they might be things like telemetry monitor dropping signal, isolation gowns out of stock, or pharmacy turnarounds taking too long. And today, most of it lives in a whiteboard or in someone's notebook, and it doesn't escalate reliably. It doesn't close the loop back to the unit, and leadership has no clue, no line of sight across the system of what's going on. And when a system can't be fixed in the unit, there's no clean way to hand it up the chain, and there was no record that it was ever resolved. So they came to us, we spent a couple of hours with them to understand how their process works and said, okay, let's kind of apply your institutional knowledge and let's kind of guide you along this journey. Let's see what we can do for you. And so essentially, pretty much every provider network is under tremendous pressure, right? There are workforce shortages, patient throughput issues, and so on and so forth. And this is where we're trying to help. So for those of us who are not from the provider world, the huddles are basically already tiered, right? So when an issue is logged, let's say like a isolation gown is not stocked, it's not available. It's captured in intake, and then it's triaged, where someone who's the triage coordinator says, well, let's go fix it, right? At stage 3. Or they might say, let's just send it up to department review, or it's a widespread problem, so let's just escalate it to executive escalation. And then once it's done, let's validate, let's log the cause, make sure that it's a virtuous cycle, doesn't happen again. And like we said, right, there's no connectivity between them. There's no closed feedback loop to the front line saying, hey, this was fixed. No easy way to surface what's read today. And this is where the core problems are that they explain to us is at the time when you capture, you're rushed. When you prioritized, you're not sure, who the owner is, what the priority is, and things kind of stall sometimes, and they get stuck. And then sometimes they get stuck in service line silos, and there's no feedback loop, like I said. So we said, okay, let's just keep your process the same, but let's kind of try and apply technology just for this operational aspect. We're not going to touch the clinical side. So I've kind of talked about the challenges right so far, but really, what is the goal? The goal is that we want to solve all these problems: safety issues, throughput, workforce strains, and compliance. And our customer wanted 90% of Huddle issue resolved same day, comparable to high-performing peer health systems that they interacted with. And we said, okay, let's just take technology. Let's use the Power Platform and show you what a tiered Huddle board looks like. So what you're about to see shortly is a digital shift Huddle board on the Power Platform. It keeps the whiteboard simplicity. It shows red, green, and black, and they're basically options that they tell you, what is important, what is critical, and what's burning hot, right? And it adds structure, escalation, and memory to your issues so that it can be tracked reliably. And we have auto escalation rules that we can apply. Everything is logged and audited so you can report on it. So at the end of the day, the process remains the same, right? You go from intake, triage, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and closure, except it's there for everyone to see. And you get a closed feedback loop that you'll be able to notice. And before we go too deep into this, this is completely built on Power Platform. It's built using Power Apps, Power Automate, Dataverse. There are some team components and a couple of other things. at this point, before we go to the demo, I'm going to take a pause and see if there are any questions. If there are any
You read
hands
my
up.
mind, Abhijit. I wanted you to talk a little bit about, I think, what part of what makes this a little bit unique. This might be some folks' first time seeing a code app. So can you talk just a little bit about how, yes, it is a Power App, it's part of the Power Platform, but you built it in a way that is really AI first.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So what is a code app? So with Power Platform, you get three different flavors of what an app is, what an app looks like, and they're all Power Apps under the hood. First, there are your model-driven apps, which have a predictable layout. It's all based on Dataverse. Then you have Canvas apps, which are just like your mobile applications, right? Your responsive applications, but then you wire everything up yourself. And then there are code apps. And what are code apps? They're basically React Vue components, which is similar to a responsive website. And you basically build it in Visual Studio Code. And back in the day when without AI, it would take you, probably a couple of months to get something up and functional. But with GitHub Copilot or Claude Code, you can actually stand one of these up pretty fast. So when you take the core components of the Power Platform, which is Dataverse, which is the managed platform, and you combine it with the 1,500 plus different connectors, so you might have multiple systems in your enterprise. You connect to all of those data, any and all of those data sources, and you're basically sitting on top of a governed platform, which gives you things like Entra authentication, data loss prevention policies, and things like that. So this is a very closed system that your security group should feel warm and fuzzies about, right? That's what it's built on. But because the word says code apps, and that's exactly what they are. They're code. And how would you build it? Under the hood, your code app is basically HTML, TypeScript, JavaScript, single page application, and uses Power Platform command line interface. So it uses all these three things in order to kind of come together. So these are your developer tools, which is Visual Studio Code, Node.js, and Power Platform CLI, and your environment that it sits in is your Power Platform admin environment. And in order to make it work, you just have to turn code apps on. That's who your environment or tenant admin will be able to do that. And once you do, you go through this development workflow, right? But again, the reason this appears a little bit intimidating is because if you were hand coding it yourself, the application that you're about to see, I built it in 2 days flat, and it's as close to production as it can get, just using Claude Code. So overall, the guts of it is it's a UI sitting on top of Dataverse and connecting to multiple data sources to give you the responsive, polished application that you need, all sitting within a governed environment. So that's what a code app is. Are there any questions, or Scott, do you want me to point and drill into some other pieces? Happy to chat about it before we go back.
No, I just kind of wanted to prime people because I've seen your demo and I knew the UI. If we have folks on here that are used to Canvas apps and model-driven apps, I think you're going to see something unlike what you've seen in the Power Platform before. And I just want to really drive home that point that, thanks to tools like GitHub Copilot, and Abhijit's always been able to build a cooler application than me, but now somebody on the lower code side of background like myself can even kind of put out some really slick looking applications with a lot less friction than what you might be used to in Power Platform. So just a really key highlight that I wanted to focus on today. Thanks, Abhijit.
No worries. If there are no questions, we can go straight into the demo. Let's see, I have too many windows open. All right, can everyone still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, outstanding. So This is the Huddle board, and before I kind of go into it, let's talk about intake, right? So in most provider organizations, a nurse or someone who's on doing their rounds, or they're trying to log an issue, they don't want another app. They don't need another app. They're going to do one of two things. They're going to either take a sticky, or they're going to send someone an email, or they're going to send a Teams message or something like that. I mean, and we want to make sure we respect that workflow, however they use it today. So what you're going to see is I have an email already set up, already staged, and what it's doing is it's sending an email to a mailbox that I'm monitoring through Power Automate. And I've got a keyword here, and in production it'll be different, but my keyword is Huddle. So my mailbox is actually waiting for emails that come in with verbiage in the description, and optionally one or more images that are attached to it. Now, if I go in here, there's really an image of a frozen bedside monitor, right? So it's going to go to a shared mailbox the moment with this exact same mailbox once I hit send, and then we'll be on our way. And let's just kind of give it a second. Yep, there it goes. And let's see, it'll take about, I heard a ding, and let's give it about 5 seconds and go back to the board. So this is the board. We'll let it kind of refresh in the background. And this is the Huddle board for a 1-unit view. And if you read it from left to right, it follows the life of an issue. So you might have an issue that just came into the intake under the new bucket. And then when someone is working it, it becomes in progress. And once it's been mitigated, it moves into the mitigated bucket. And then you basically verify and close it, right? Just to make sure that it's all done. Now, remember that the first 4 columns, if an issue is sitting there, it means that it is still within the unit. It is still at tier 1. But if you push it to tier 2 and tier 3, it will basically move to that particular level where it needs that kind of attention. Now, what's important to note is once you escalate an issue from your tier 1 to tier 2 or tier 3, it moves into these buckets, but it doesn't go away. It just tells the leadership for that tier, hey, you have a work item, and they come in and they work on that item alone. So if that makes any sense. So, and the unit can escalate them to a facility level or an executive escalation team. So what's important is if you look at the top, right, there's a KPI strip which tells me the current status of the board. It tells me there are 22 issues open, there's 3 overdue, 7 escalated, and 4 closed, and there's a 75% loop closed, where we actually provided feedback and to the person who logged it and said, yep, this is exactly what's, you logged a ticket, you logged an issue, we've taken care of it, and this is the disposition. Just going to hit refresh just to see if our card has shown up. There we go. There's our card. So the automation pulled it in. Since I'm under the persona of Megan Sullivan, it logged it as the person who created it. And what's happening is because she's part of the so Megan is what they would call a floater. She works across 3 different hospitals in the Lakeside Health System, which is a fake health system that I put together. So there are 3 hospitals that she moves across. So she could be running the Huddle for any one of these. So our issue we just logged is for Summit Ridge Medical Center. So let's just kind of grab that because that's the Huddle that she's running. Now, what you have to understand is each card is an issue. It contains a priority signal. It says green, red, or black, and it has a category of equipment supply, and a few other things. And you get an optional picture like you guys just saw, and it kind of rides along with the issue. Now, let's kind of raise, a new issue, because things always don't happen outside of the Huddle board. Let's say there's a meeting that's being a huddle that is currently occurring. You can the triage coordinator who's running the huddle can come in here and they can log a new item, and they can pick, which unit did it happen in, what the categories are, and so on and so forth. But we've already got a live one. We're not gonna add a one just for fun. So in any case, what's going to happen is the unit is going to start working it. So they can basically drag and drop it, move it into the in progress, right? So every move I make is recorded. So I'm just going to go click, and it opens up this issue, and you can basically see that it maintains history. It says Megan moved it from new to in progress, and it gave me the timestamp of when this happened. I can go in, I can edit it if I wanted to, I can make changes, or in this case, let's just say, this issue can't really be resolved within the tier, and there needs to be executive intervention needed, or maybe a mid-level manager intervention needed. So she's gonna, whoever's running the triage is going to just take it and drop it to a tier 2. Now, if it's severe enough, so it's gonna say, okay, this is who I am. I'm assigned to Summit, so it gives them a few options of where it's gonna go. So if it's not super urgent, if it's, isolated to just a few areas, you can just pick tier 2. But if it's tier 3, now you're going to have to provide a reason saying why is it happening? Why are you pushing it 2 levels up? So I'm going to say widespread issue, and I'm going to escalate. And it appears over here, right? So now when the exec leadership, which is the tier 3 escalation team, logs in, they get this ticket, and they get to see that there's one overdue, one sitting here. And they can come in, they can come take a look at it and say, okay, yeah, we know this is a problem. And we are going to perform a few things. We're going to basically say that, we're going to reorder monitors for replenishment. Now, this is a feedback that they're going to probably say, keep it at tier 2 and above, because, everybody doesn't need to know about it at tier 1. That's just noise to them. So this is where the lock symbol shows up, and because it's meant for managers and above. Now, let's say, this was actioned, and you said, you know what, let's just say that this was received, orders, swap out units, contact, supply. Now I'm just making stuff up, and I can hit add feedback to tier 1, and that feedback goes to tier 1, and I can say resolve to origin. What this is going to mean is, now that the exec has taken action on it, it moves back into tier 1, so everybody knows at tier 1 that that the work has been done, leadership has taken action, and when the next shift change happens, the triage coordinator looks at it and says, yep, I've got feedback, it's mitigated. Let's see what leadership provided, and they only see, okay, you know what, we've got action on it. Now let's kind of verify and close it. So
Abhijit, I'm going to pause you and try to take Matthew Hall off of mute here and see if he can ask his question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Question that I was thinking of was, when, say, if that issue comes in and it is determined like it's a widespread issue or something urgent, and it goes to that tier 3 group and gets escalated, does that group receive any sort of like additional notification other than it just showing up on their like Huddle board? Like, do they get like an email or like a Teams notification or something that makes them aware that this issue got
Yeah,
escalated to them? It
yeah,
might be urgent.
yeah. Good question. You can get both. Depending on how you configure it. So you're going to see you basically kind of got me right here, right? You're going to see a variation of that. So let me just move this along and you'll kind of see it. So let's say somebody decides to verify and close it. They're going to be required to put in a resolution summary, what the root cause was, what the preventative action is. But then they can also deliver feedback to the originating unit where they pick a distribution list to respond to or a Teams channel to drop into. So to your question, Matthew, when leadership gets an escalation, we can provide them the same kind of notification, which is an email or a direct message or a post in a channel that they're a member of, if that helps. Awesome. So in this case, let's say we ordered supplies, and I'm going to say root cause is bad units. I'm just going to make stuff up, QA checks, whatever. And I'm going to say, I want this to go to the Huddle distribution list. I want it to go to the Teams channel. I want it to go to system leadership Teams channel, and I'm going to just go and verify and close. When I hit verify and close, what you're going to notice is that it basically creates this little tag which says loop closed. And those tags are the ones which drive this number up top, right? Which says how many loops were closed. Because you started with an issue that was logged on the floor, it came back through executive leadership, it went back down, and now you verified it and everybody knows, yep, including the person who originated it, yep, it's taken care of, right? That's what builds confidence. So like I said, this is a code app. This is bespoke. This is all built with Cloud Code in Visual Studio Code. And you can basically have the standard filters that you can, slice and dice it if you've got a bunch of different issues that are currently sitting there. Now, all this is great, but the next question is, what do you do with this? Are you going to be able to drive any sort of action on it? But what is executive leadership going to see from a data perspective? Whoops, there we go. So the cool thing about it is you accumulate operational history across all your hospitals. In this case, there are 3 for this fake hospital system that I have. And you basically take a snapshot every so often of these issues, so that you have your history is growing constantly. So I as an executive, from a historic perspective, I can see that there are 184 closed items, 67.9 same-day closure rates, and 13 of them were escalated tier 3 and all that, right? And over time, I can see that my closed loop rate trend, right? I want to hit 90% closed loop rate, and sometimes I'm doing a good job. Other times I'm falling behind. So I can drill into it and figure out what's happening when and what was the root cause. And this is all kind of useful from a long-term perspective. But for someone who wants to look at a daily view, they can go into the executive daily reporting, and they can see what's happening at this snapshot in time. Today they look at where issues resolved, and they can see that of all the issues that came in, 116 were resolved at tier 1, 52 were resolved at 58 were resolved at tier 2, and only 10 reached tier 3, which is pretty darn good. And you can basically see what were some of the barriers, right? So it looks to me like equipment is probably the highest barriers that were logged over time. And executive leadership is only focused on things that are red, that are overdue and at tier 3. So I've got a table that shows me all the issues that are tier 3 and across all hospitals, right, in my system. And it tells me which service line is impacted and what the primary category is and when it was created. And this way I can look at my delivery network signal matrix and see how many issues there are overall, so I can kind of operationalize this. I can have all the information at my fingertips needed for me to run my units effectively. So I'm going to pause before I go back to my PowerPoint, see if there are any questions. Yeah. So what you basically just saw, right, is today's process challenges were manual whiteboard huddles. We basically, digitized it. There's auto escalation. Right now, this is manual, but you can set up rules where you can escalate from 1, 2, and 3, depending on whether someone takes action on it or not. You get priority views for nurse leaders. You guys saw that there's auditing, and then there's closed loop resolution to feedback. So, oh, bad slide. So what would you do next? So if this is something that interests you, you can scope a single unit pilot. Like I said, this is about 90% real. And of course, everything changes depending on how every provider system runs their huddles. But a pilot is not a bad idea. And if you guys are interested, if your leadership is interested, feel free to reach out to either myself, Scott, or Randall for next steps, and we can route you to the right people.
And Abhijit, correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't mean to put you on the spot. This would be something that you're planning to put on GitHub for folks to use as what I would probably call an accelerator. Is that accurate?
That is correct. As soon as I make sure that there's no connection references and things like that, yeah, this is going to go on GitHub.
Lovely. Thank you for that.
Back over to you, Scott.
Lovely. Just getting my deck back up here, folks. Bear with me. Of course, it lands on the music slide. All right. So first of all, as always, a huge thank you to Abhijit for being our presenter today. I think, when we talk about Power Platform, a huge part of what Randall, Abhijit, and I do every day is we kind of spend our time hunting for these use cases that are happening on paper, happening on spreadsheets, happening on whiteboards. And if any of those ideas resonates with you, I encourage you to get in touch with somebody from the Microsoft side to see if now, more quickly than ever with AI, we could take that, we could digitize it, we could automate it, we could create notifications and intelligence around it. And this is, I'm sure, just scratching the surface of, once that tier board is digitized, everything on there is a trigger, right? Every time anything changes, we can use that to send a next best action or something of that nature. Obviously, there's a question. Has somebody started to use this solution, or is it in pilot phase?
It's in pilot phase.
Pilot phase. So yeah, encourage you to would love to see folks use this one. Would love to hopefully have this also serve as inspiration for other use cases that might be similar. We'll be back. We are here the 4th Thursday of August. I think we're going to move September to a Wednesday, but Marty Carreras, former member of our PowerCat team, our customer advisory team, has now joined us in HLS. And he's used VS Code and some vibe coding tools, a theme here of late, to help folks bring Copilot Studio agents that understand the context of what's happening in a model-driven app into said model-driven app, independent of M365 Copilot. So if your organization or your leadership hasn't made the commitment to something like M365 Copilot, what are they doing? Come on. But we can provide you an option that can still get you some of the intelligence, still brings some of your data into the context of an agent. And he's going to show that off and talk about how he built it with some vibe coding tools. Please find us on LinkedIn. Please find the user group on LinkedIn. Check out our YouTube channel for previous sessions. Abhijit has been a regular presenter, so he's showed a couple of his really slick solutions before, along with a bunch of customers. If anybody's ever interested in presenting, please do get in touch. One final thank you to Abhijit, and thank you to all of you for being here today. Have a wonderful rest of your week.